How's it going, pirates? And welcome to part 2 of the Punisher build. We're going to be focusing on a few things. First, I'll show you the end results of his speeder. So as you can see, I actually painted a white line along here. I've added his logo up here. And then I moved the cannons from down here to up towards the center of the bike. So they do rotate. And then I've added some other greeblies. I might still touch this up, maybe paint that silver, maybe add some color to this as well, which is just some greeblies that I added on to the bike. I painted this a light brown color, so that's his seat. But yeah, you guys can let me know in the comments down below what you think. I added some gunmetal to the rear thrusters. Yeah, it came out pretty good. I'm still not sure if I want to leave this empty like this. I do have a grate that could possibly fit on the front. I'm still going to check that out. As you can see, I've also added a little bit of weathering to the bike as well. So yeah, it came out pretty cool. So as you can see, I've added some gunmetal to some of the engine parts just to give it a little bit more detail and some variance as well. But yeah, I think it came out really great.
A few moments later.
Okay, so since that image, I've done a few things off camera. Like for starters, taking the ship apart. So as you can see now, it's pretty much in pieces. So that what you initially saw in that picture was just a dry fit. Nothing was glued down. The ship wasn't taken apart yet. So we've done a few things since then. So like I said, we've taken the ship apart. The interior portion, I cut off the back portion of the seating, which is this part here. So this is the part that sits underneath the turret. So I cut that off. I smoothed this out a little bit. I still have more sanding to do in regards to that. The other thing that I've done is the top hatch. I've started shaving down the sides. So this side's already been done. So now I'm working on this side. So I'm shaving this down so that when it sits on top, so when it's sitting on top of this section here, it kind of sits flush. And then the other thing that I've done is I've also gotten these parts. So this was from a trade that I made with my friend Keith. And this is from the Quinjet, the Marvel Quinjet. So there's a portion that's usually in the middle that holds the two pieces together. I cut that off, shaved down the sides to smooth it out. I've also done the same thing at the bottom, as there's little latches on here that connects to the body of the plane. So I've actually shaved that down so that's flat, because these are going to be sitting along the edge of this ship along here. They've obviously have to be repainted. I have to go get another can of rattle paint for that. But yeah, so these are going to be sitting on the sides up here. And then I have the tie silencer wings that you saw in that image. Those are going to be glued on to the top portion of the wing. So this is the bottom portion of the wings that you're seeing here. Here's the top portion. So essentially the tie silencer wings will be glued onto this little winglet here. So it's going to go on. See how there's a little space here in the tie silencer? This will fit right in here, and it'll be glued down. And then the good thing about that is that this will be able to move up and down. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. We're going to continue shaving down the hatch. All right, so this is a little bit more flush now. So let's test fit it. Nice. All right, so that's how that's going to fit. The main reason why I was shaving those down is so that I could fit these winglet engines on the side here without it bumping onto the hatch. So I'm going to raise this up a little bit so that it covers some of the edge of the hatch, so that way it looks a lot better. So yeah, that's the next step, is to start gluing some of this stuff down. So as part of part 2, what we'll be focusing on is the pilot and his accessories. And so here are some of the things that I have here for the pilot. Now you have seen the pilot that I created. He is this guy, which is the Punisher. So if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen me post some of the pictures in him, and this is his undershirt. So him without his armor. This is going to be his armor. Now there's a hole in it and stuff like that. So hole in it right here. So basically I'll be putting another holster here. There was a knife sheath here, but I cut that off. So I'll be or scabbard rather, and I cut that off, and I'll be putting in a holster here for his other weapon, because I want him to be able to access that with his left hand, and I didn't want to put it on his leg like his holster on his right leg. And on the back of this, I'll be putting these canisters, which I'll be saying contain explosives. So these will be like maybe grenades or something. So I'll be putting that on the back of his vest. And then here's the holster. That's the holster that's going to be going in. And then here's the weapon that's going to be holstered within that holster there. And this is going to be his rifle. So you may have noticed a pattern here in terms of some of his equipment. So for example, these two pieces go together. So this is part of the Death Trooper armor. That's his helmet, and there's the Death Trooper rifle. So both of those are part of who this character is. So there will be a backstory in terms of this character and everything. So stay tuned for that on my Instagram. And maybe I'll also be posting it on YouTube as well. And that's his right holster weapon. That's his pistol for his right holster.
A few moments later.
Okay, so we were able to add the holster as I indicated here. And on the back end, we're able to plug in his grenades. Now, what I had done in the front, in order for it to adhere better, is I actually put a little bit of baking soda so that the super glue would be able to attach to it a little bit better and to be a little bit more sturdy. Now, what I've also done is that little hole that was there, I covered it up with painter's tape so that way I could fill the hole up with some baking powder inside the hole. And then I dropped a couple of drops of glue in there so that I would solidify in that hole and make it a more flush surface for me to adhere the holster. So I put the holster on now. I added a little bit more of baking powder on the side here, as well as here, so that this would stay on there and will be less likely to move or come off. So that's a lot more sturdy. Now I'm going to brush off some more of the excess baking powder, and then I'm going to paint everything in a flat black. And I'll be doing I don't think I'll be adding any baking powder here, because what I did for this one is I put the baking powder on the vest, then I put the glue on the grenades, and then I just stuck it all right on there. Now it's a little bit crooked, but I don't mind so much because of the fact that it's just something that's at his back, so you won't really be seeing that for the most part. So then the next thing to do with this, once everything is fully dried and repainted, is right here on his chest piece. I'll be putting a Punisher skull on here, because I still want people to know that this is the Punisher, even though he's wearing his vest, right? Because when he's not wearing his vest, you can clearly see that that's who he is. And then what we want to do is with the same thing with this, when he's wearing his armor, you could tell that that's the Punisher. Okay, so everything's a little bit drier now, and I don't know if you could see that, but I removed the painter's tape from the back end of the vest, from inside the vest, and you can kind of see where the baking powder has filled up that hole. There is still a tiny little hole there, but I can live with that if you guys can. And for me, things don't have to be perfect, because I know what my vision's like. I'm not too worried, because I know that sometimes I could do better, sometimes I can't. So That's okay. I'm okay with it. I've accepted that. All right, so we're just basically touching up all the areas that had some baking powder in there and just making sure that everything is a matte black finish. I'll be then going back and weathering it by adding some like silver spots on some of the armor to like represent some scratches and things like that. And like I said, I'll be putting on the Punisher logo on here as well. So yeah, that looks, to me, that looks pretty friggin' cool. You guys can let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'm sure you guys can come up with some of your own ideas as well of what maybe you would do differently or what you might add if you decide to do something similar. So let me give you some of the recipe in terms of what I've done here. So this particular figure is a G.I. Joe. I believe it's the 25th anniversary G.I. Joe. The body itself is the Outback body. Um, it's not the original, which was the white T-shirt and the green pants. This is all the black on black. I believe it's like a Night Force squad. This is Lieutenant Falcon's head from that same squad. He's wearing all black as well. So I decided to combine the two. The hands are actually Joy Toy hands. So what I've done is I put some blue tack within the peg holes and I plugged in these hands. Now it's not perfect, so I might go back and add a little bit more blue tack in there, so that way it's like really stuffed up in there, and then I could shove those pegs in there, and hopefully they won't really move, wiggle around as much, because it does wiggle a little bit, but nothing major. We'll see about that as I continue to progress with this particular build. So this character's name is actually Frank Castle, so it's Kassel as opposed to the word castle, Castle, and his first name is going to be Frank, F''RANQ is how I'm going to spell his name, because in my universe nobody's name is spelled like how we would spell it here on Earth, because it's not on Earth. It's in a galaxy far, far away, alternate Star Wars universe. So it has a combination of various different sci-fi IPs, and I have an explanation on how that is possible. So stay tuned to my channel as well as my Instagram. I'll be going into backstories about all those things very soon. So here he is fully decked out with his armor, holding his helmet. So he looks like with his helmet off, and he's got his rifle here. He looks really cool. All right, so we have him all decked out in his armor. So that's what he looks like with his helmet. The holster looks a little bulky, but I don't mind so much. Again, it's just mainly for quick access to his weapon. I want him to be able to access that weapon there. And there's his holstered pistol on his side. Yeah, he looks kind of badass. You guys can let me know what you think. And I like the matte black. Even though he has matte black on his shoulders and under that undershirt, I like how there's a little bit of a shine to it, and it looks different from his armor. So the next thing I'll be doing with the armor after I put on the symbol is I'm going to do some weathering. So I'm going to add a little bit of silvering and stuff like that, or maybe gunmetal on there, just so that way you can tell that this is armor underneath and stuff like that. But yeah, he looks really cool.
A few moments later.
All right, so with a little bit of finagling and a lot of frustration, I was able to get the symbol onto his vest. And the final thing to do is now add the bonding agent, just to ensure that the symbol stays on his vest without peeling off or coming off. And that's going to bring us to the end of part 2. So the build will continue in part 3 next week, but if you want to see the final ship before then, you can always check out the Wilhelm Toy and Hobby Show this Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you have another opportunity to see the final ship again on our WIP Wednesday Live showcase, which is going to be the monthly showcase on May 29th, this coming Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, I hope to see you guys there, and until then, take care, pirates.